mission is to raise the bar for the industry, specifically in the luxury space. Everybody knows a real estate agent. There's 1.6 million realtors out there. That number probably will dip a little bit in 2023 and beyond. One of my goals, Mario, is to empower agents, to give them the tools and the resources so that if they did represent a high-end buyer or a high-end seller, that level of service, level of expertise is second to none. Because if that agent does a poor job, it gives all agents a black eye. The blueprint is the actual strategies, but before we even get to the actual strategies, the foundation is key. So the foundation is what I would call the mindset. What you focus on expands.
Yep.
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Zig Ziglar, you hang out with 9 dead broke people, you're bound to be the 10th. I'm a huge believer in video. People are going to Google you. They're going to Google you. They're going to check you out. They're going to look you up. And many times you don't even know if you lost out on opportunity because they haven't reached out yet. From a technology standpoint, social media and YouTube are really important.
Welcome to the Top Real Estate Influencers Podcast. My name is Alex Montalenti. We have our co-host Mario Hurley. And today we have Michael Lafido. Lafido, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And he's the CEO of Luxe. Luxe, the luxury listing specialist. It's a designation. He's also a luxury real estate broker. He's been in the industry for quite a long time. He's spoken at numerous events, major events. We run into each other at quite a few events, end up talking in the lobbies for hours at a time, talking about marketing, talk about luxury, talk about the brands. I'm excited to dive deep into this today with you, all about the standards, the new standard. What is a luxury listing agent? What is a luxury listing specialist? And let's get into it. This should be awesome.
Honored to be here. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here, Michael. And rather than going with a couple surface questions, let me just get right down to the heart of it and ask you, what would you say, what is your message? What is your mission?
My mission is to raise the bar for the industry, specifically in the luxury space. Everybody knows a real estate agent. There's 1.6 million, realtors out there. That number probably will dip a little bit in 2023 and beyond. But everybody knows somebody in real estate, but not all agents are created equal, right? And so, one of my goals, Mario, is to empower agents, to give them the tools and the resources so that if they did represent a high-end buyer or a high-end seller, that level of service, the level of expertise is second to none. Because if that agent does a poor job, it gives all agents a black eye. So, the reality is, if you golf with a friend and you're a part-time agent and your friend says, hey, I'm selling, I'm relocating, and they give you the opportunity to market their home, many luxury divisions and other designations, if you don't qualify and you haven't sold a couple luxury homes in the past year, it's, hey, go sell a couple and then come back and see me when you're successful. But what happens if they're not successful? It gives everybody in the industry a black eye. So we've provided just free content. There's other levels of service, but we try to provide so much free content where agents that are struggling, just starting out, newer agents, experienced agents that are dipping their toe in the upper price points of their market, that they'll at least kind of have a general blueprint to kind of guide them in the right direction.
That's amazing. So you definitely don't want to see no more black eyes in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is there's, in most multiple listing services, depending on luxury, and everybody defines luxury differently. Every brand has a different definition. Many people would define a luxury home as $1 million, but that doesn't get you anything in Silicon Valley, doesn't get you anything in some, some of these upper end markets. 600,000 in some smaller markets will get you a luxury home. So I do believe luxury is all relative. But where I'm going is that you can look at any multiple listing service in those upper price point, the top 10%, call it, in that given market. And if you are a marketing specialist, if I did an audit on the top 10% in most MLSs, there's going to be some glaring things that are wrong. Just like, with RealGrader does, if they audit your social media and audit you on Google, there's some deficiencies there. I've identified those deficiencies as well, and we're trying to optimize an agent experience, but more importantly, the consumer's experience. because I believe if the consumer has a better experience with their agent, long term, they're going to have more positive things to say, more reviews, and that takes pressure off everybody else. But if they have a bad experience, what are they going to do? They're going to try selling by owner. They're going to go with the cheapest agent, that sort of thing.
So I have an interesting story. I just saw this. It was an interesting twist. A realtor did a video about a property. It was a $180,000 commission check or $160,000 commission check, right? So obviously a luxury listing. And the original seller, the original listing agent, did not really stage the property, didn't really take care of the property. The property didn't sell. Even in a market where the property, at the time, properties are flying off the market, it didn't sell. And so this new listing agent was a luxury agent. I know him very well. He's been in the industry for a long time, specializes in luxury. He was like, you know what? I just have to say it. This is crazy. I'm going to do a whole video about how I got to this show-ready home, apparently. And it was just a mess. It wasn't staged. The couches were ripped. There was like paint on the walls. There was like fake plants in the corners of the rooms. There was dust and spider webs. And he's like, it's a $180,000 commission check. Like, we're not doing our job, people. Like, this is important. Like, this homeowner was counting on this. And now this guy has to go in and like, do it over, like prove the point and then stage it properly and do what a luxury specialist, really what any realtor should do, but especially in the case of a $180,000 commission check.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'd love, to hear more about that and have you connect with them, because that could be a great opportunity on our show. But Alex, you don't know what you don't know. So maybe that first agent thought they were doing everything the right way, right? And that's where the same thing with your company with audits. Like, you might think you're optimized on your social media and your Google, but you don't know what you don't know. And so that's the problem in the industry. But documenting it like that agent did, we create case study books, before and after books, great visuals where you tell the story, not just, hey, I sold this home, but documenting how you position that home more effectively so that more eyeballs, more buyers, more agents could visually, mentally move into that home. And that's what our job is. There's an old adage in real estate: you want to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the third listing agent, right? Because sometimes when you're the third listing agent, the first says, oh, the house looks great, Mario, don't do anything. The second agent comes around and says, hey, Mario, maybe you should do this, this, and this. And Mario pushes back, but does some things. By the time the third agent comes around, Mario's like, man, here are the keys. Tell me what I got to do. I'm done, right? So if you can do that the first time around in a way and articulate it without offending the seller, that is artwork in itself. And so that's part of what we teach people.
Can you tell us more about your process? It sounds like you have a pretty genius setup going on there.
Yeah. So, if I were arriving at your home, Mario, and you were interviewing me to market your home, and again, market your home versus list your home, right? Many agents refer to, I want the listing, or I'm going to list your home. I feel like that's past tense, and market or marketing is present tense. It's ongoing, right? Success is a journey, not a destination. And so when I pull up to your home, I mean, my eyes are scanning. I'm looking at the exterior. Is there any deferred maintenance? Are there any, like hotels.com, is there, any elephants in the room, or Captain Obvious? Are there any things that the vast majority of buyers and agents are going to notice, right? So I call that my audit, or my fresh eyes analysis. So I'm looking based on what market research and what NAR puts out these surveys on what the consumer is looking for. So I'm looking on the exterior, on my walk up to the home. When I meet the seller, and I shake their hand, I don't sit down right away. I say, hey, while we're up, I like get a tour of the home. And when I'm getting a tour of the home, one of the things I'm doing, Mario, is I'm taking mental note, or sometimes physical notes, on, is it too personalized? Is it too bold? Are there some deferred maintenance item issues that I'm going to have a conversation with? Now, I don't necessarily have those deep conversations on the first appointment. People don't care how much you know until they know you care, right? So you have to build rapport. And then once you build a level of trust and likability, then you can share with them your solutions.
You're building.
Many times your solutions might be on a very high surface level, paint, decluttering, neutralizing. Some of the easiest things to neutralize are window treatments and bedding and paint colors, right? So many times people have bold colors. Bold colors might be the color of your shirt, Mario, red, or the color of my shirt, blue, but your off-whites, your whites, your grays, your tans, right? Those are timeless. And so you're safer in the timeless color wheel on a paint spectrum. Same thing with window treatments and bedding. You're safer with solid colors versus very heavy patterns. Same thing with area rugs, right? So there's things you can do so that a buyer can mentally move in. Only 10% of buyers and agents can visualize. Said differently, 90% can't. So 10% of buyers and agents walking through your home, Mario, can mentally see themselves moving in. And so it's really up to the marketing agent to position the home so that more buyers can mentally move in versus a smaller pool of buyers that love your decorating or love my decorating. Do you want to sell your home to somebody that loves your decorating, a smaller pool of buyers? You might not get as many showings or qualified showings, and you might get less offers and leave money on the table. Or do you want to open up your home to a larger pool of buyers where we get more showings, maybe bidding war, even in a challenging market that we're maybe going into? There's a shortage of good quality properties. So you are still getting bidding wars on properties. I just sold a home last week. It was in the upper price points, not a luxury home, but we had 31 showings in 3 days, 6 offers, 3 above asking. So again, do you want a smaller pool of buyers or do you want a larger pool and hopefully get top dollar and multiple offers?
The thing that you spoke to me about when we met, I think in Vegas at an event, was by having this technology, this knowledge, agents are requesting or warranting a higher commission than normal. While most of the industry is battling, like, do I got to lower my commission? Do I take a piece off to get the listing? The agents that have gone through your programs are going, no, like, I can actually ask for a higher commission now, a 6% or whatever. You give me more details on the numbers, but that to me makes a lot of sense. And I know agents that are doing that, but it's also exciting, and it really distinguishes the difference between all the levels of realtor.
You're absolutely right. I'll tell a seller, I'm by far going to be probably the most expensive agent you interview, but let me share with you how you're going to net more money. What I've experienced in 22 years of this and launching my designation, over 6 years ago, is in the upper price points, the high net worth sellers, they don't mind paying more if they see the value, right? They pay more for their dining experience, for their suit, for their car, whatever it might be, if they see the value. Unfortunately, many agents in those upper price points, Alex, they compete by being the cheapest agent. They think that's how they're going to get the listing. I just sold a home for 2.2 million. I was the third real estate agent. And when they asked me what my fee was at the end, and I shared it, it was significantly higher than the other agents. They didn't laugh at me, but they laughed and looked at each other. It was a husband and wife and their adult son. They're like, "Oh, we knew it was going to." They expected it to be because I went through my case studies. I'd sold Khalil Mack, a Chicago Bears home, and they called me based on that and some other factors. And I brought in my before and after books, right? And we did a huge transformation. And I don't mind sharing that with you guys, and you can share it with the group
Sure.
if you want. But we did a huge before and after documentation of what it was before they hired me and what it looked like after they hired me. And it was such a huge, larger pool of buyers that could visually see themselves moving in that home.
Yeah. People pay for quality.
They do.
And so you said you've been in this game for more than 20 years. How did you get inspired? What were the people or the market? What inspired you to take this direction?
Yeah, so I won't bore you with too many details, but I was a full-time high school teacher, and I had a deck cleaning and staining business, power washing decks and fences in the summers. I was power washing. I had a crew member. My first year, I did all the jobs. Second year, I did maybe a third because I brought on help. And the third year, I was just going getting estimates, and I didn't do any of the work. And so my third year into the business, I had a guy reach out to me, and we were doing his you know, his deck, and I went by to pick up the check. He goes, "Have you ever thought about getting in real estate?" He goes, "I own a real estate brokerage, and my top agent is a teacher at North Central College in Naperville." Long story short, 3 months later, I got my real estate license, and I was selling entry level, 1 or 2 homes a year. But then, Mario, the light bulb went on. I'm like, I wanted to work smarter, not harder. And I had a mentor named Dan Kennedy that talked about marketing to the affluent, right? And so I started to read books, and I realized, you know what? I wanted to break into those upper price points. So I, you know, about 10 or 11 years into my real estate career, I started to go after more of those upper price points. And that's one of the things I teach agents. You don't have to wait 10 or 11 years before you go after luxury, Mario. You don't have to be a veteran licensed agent before you sell luxury, or live in one of those mansions, or drive a Maserati or some exotic car. Those are all false. Another false limiting belief that agents have is that they have to be with a certain brand or brokerage. And that too is false. And the worst one of them all is, you know, there's already blank number of established luxury agents in my market. There certainly isn't room for me or another one. And I don't care if that number is 998, there's room for 999. So you that are listening to this or watching this, you have your own story. And many times we don't like talking about ourselves, or thinking our previous challenges and turbulence in our life aren't something to talk about. But you know what? People want to do business with someone they like and they trust and are relatable. And if you are authentic and you tell your story, my story was I blue collar. I was the first to go to college, Mr. Seller. I was a full-time teacher, but I built my book of business. I've invested in myself, you know, and so you tell your story, and stories sell, right? Don't be a BS storyteller, but tell stories, and people will buy into what makes you different and unique.
You're the first person that brings up Dan Kennedy. It's interesting. I
Really?
saw
Yeah.
Dan Kennedy speak at Funnel Hackers Live, and that's the webinars and funnels thing I was telling you about in the hallway that time.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell Brunson actually acquired his company and now works with him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dan
Magnetic
Kennedy's a
marketing.
legend in the industry with copywriting, and yeah, a lot of the gurus out there, you know, in our industry, you know, one of the icons in the real estate industry, not as I don't want to say popular, but maybe not as out there today as he was 20 years ago. But Craig Proctor was one of the godfathers, real estate coaches, and Craig, you know, was mentored by Dan Kennedy. You know, Kinder Reese, you know, some of these others, they were all, you know, Dan Kennedy mentored.
So you pointed a little bit around the mindset of agents, that they think, you know, this is what it looks like. I don't look like that, and that means probably I'm not at that caliber, maybe someday. So how do you build one? How do you create one? What would you say are the ingredients? How do you make up a Luxe type agent who knows how to go after the big deals and knows how to attract the type of clientele?
Yeah, so I would call that the blueprint. The blueprint is the actual strategies, but before we even get to the actual strategies, Mario, the foundation is key. So the foundation is what I would call the mindset, the foundation, right? What you focus on expands. Maybe you've heard that.
Yep.
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Zig Ziglar, you know, you hang out with 9 dead broke people, you're bound to be the 10th. These are all truisms, right? Your mom, growing up as a kid, your mom knew, hey, you shouldn't hang out with that kid. She could tell a knucklehead that was a bad influence on you, right? So same concept. So what are agents feeding their brain, right? What are they listening to? What are they reading? That's going to be a foundational principle to whether they're going to have an amazing 2023 and beyond. Same thing. What are they reading? What are they listening to? I tell agents, when you grow your knowledge, your confidence will grow. So grow your knowledge around luxury. So there's some things that agents can do to grow their knowledge around luxury. What are they reading? What podcasts are they plugged into? Are they going on broker tours during the week, caravans at some of those upper price points, so that they familiarize yourself with the upper price point homes in their market? Are they mirroring a luxury agent in their market? Are they investing in themselves? So there's a lot of various things to build on that foundation. You know, Lisa Hayes says, be careful how you talk to yourself because you are listening. So how are agents talking to themselves? right? Do
Yeah.
they think they're going to get the opportunity? You see, I'm a huge, big believer in sports and the life lessons that sports teaches. You know, Babe Ruth, said, never let the fear of striking out get in your way. To use a baseball analogy, Mario, many realtors, they won't go on that upper price point because of the what ifs. What if they ask me this? Or what if I don't get the listing? Or what if
Mm-hmm.
I get the listing, then what? Right? So these are all some real life scenarios that were hopefully part of raising the bar for the industry. I'm hopefully working on agents' mindset. In our course that we teach, we work on mindset first, because I could give them the blueprint. I could give them the formula, Mario, but unless they believe that they can do it, it doesn't matter, right? We got David versus Goliath. You hear of these sports teams. How do they upset that team that they have no business beating? It's because they believe they can. Their coach has got them to believe that they can, and that they'll run through a wall for their coach. And the other team has lost focus, or maybe they don't have that mindset. So mindset is key to answer your question. That is literally the foundation to make 2023 and beyond your best year. That's the foundation to catapult and break into and perhaps dominate those upper price points in your given market.
There you go. I did meet a new agent. We went to a holiday event here at the Miami Association. And this agent said, I'm new. I just got my license a couple months ago. And I said, great. What's going to be your focus? She literally said, well, I'm not going to be picky. I'm just going to go for small properties. I'm going to start small. I said, why? And she just walked away. So I think her mindset was, don't be picky. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that story. I do a lot of trainings for the Miami Association of Realtors. I was down there in November for their International Congress event. I spoke, the chief economic officer, the mayor of Miami, and he was awesome, by the way. Really liked what Francis, is it Mayor Francis? I think
Mayor
that's his
Francis,
name.
yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was great, and he was very supportive, and that's why the Miami businesses are growing. But you know, the problem, sometimes agents are too picky when they just start out, right? The
Mm,
reality is, if you're starting out, you can't be too snobbish, right? You have to
mm,
go where the money is. You might have to take that rental lead or that buyer lead. Now, when you build your book of business and you grow, maybe a team, now you can be more selective and say, I only want to work with sellers, or I only want to work with sellers above a certain price point. And
mm,
and then I refer those out below that price point, or I refer all buyers out. That's what I've done. I have a small team, and we all have kind of specialties within our team. And I'm very selective, but it's taken me a while to get there, right? So
mm.
if you got to put food on the table and you're being too selective and turning down financial opportunities to provide for your family, you know, you might be dead broke for a long time.
No, this one was a young girl, single, nobody, no
Okay.
babies to feed, probably
Yeah,
lives with
yeah,
the parents.
yeah. I, not everybody has the same philosophy, and my philosophy, according to my 22 years in the industry, is there's three types of agents. There's agents that work with buyers, agents that only buyers, agents that work with buyers and sellers, and agents that only work with sellers. And so buyers, both, and sellers. And those agents that really focus on listings, they make a lot more historically year in and year out than the agents that kind of are hybrid or work with only buyers. Now, again, I love working with upper price point buyers, Mario. But when you take on luxury listings, you get more sign calls, more internet leads. And then, of course, you can delegate those out to someone else on your team. I have an entry level property that I'm marketing for $400,000, and got a sign call about a week and a half ago. Buyer, this house wasn't the right fit. I referred her to an agent on my team. She's under contract, 390. Again, I'm not doing any of the work. I'll take a referral fee, but again, the listings are magnets. They attract more calls, more internet leads, more social proof. You can leverage listings more than you can a buyer.
You know what I love about what you're doing is that you're actually doing it, right? It's like, you're
You
not
know,
just teaching it, you're out there every day. I see you on Facebook sharing, you're sharing about your education and your courses and where you're speaking, but you're also sharing like real stories about properties that you've marketed. And then the other thing, mindset is key, but it's also like you clearly embody it as well, like luxury. Like whenever I meet you or see you at an event, you're always suited up, right? Like you're always suited up, you look professional. You handed me your business card once and I was like, now that's a business card,
mhm.
right? Like it was like significantly different than all the other cards I had received at the trade show. And it spoke luxury, like no questions asked, right? So I mean, there's also that too. It's like, your online presence, how are you perceived online? How are you perceived in person? How are you perceived when you hand over a business card? What's your education background, your confidence, your mindset around it? I love that you mentioned the podcast. Like, yeah, by listening to that and like going to see those luxury properties, you're putting yourself into that world. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I believe, one of the things that makes us different, right? With our course and our trainings and our podcast is I'm in the trenches. I'm overcoming objections in this turbulent economy, just like other agents. And I'm not in a luxury market like Beverly Hills or South Beach or the Hamptons. And no disrespect to some of those $1 million agents, but the Chicagoland market, up until 2 years ago during COVID, that luxury market was a buyer market for a decade plus. And even still today, we have, millionaires. We have a lot of wealthy leaving our state for political reasons and tax reasons. So it's still a difficult market to sell these high-end homes. So that's really when I wrote my book and we created our course. It was really out of necessity that I had to do those things to sell these homes. I couldn't just throw it on the MLS and wait for somebody to sell it. And that's what sounds like, Alex, your one friend that took on this other listing that repositioned it and got $100,000 commission check. He wasn't passive, right? He was aggressive. He was creative. He was outside the box. He invested in the home through whatever means to market the home.
So let's move to another section. So one of the things we are Real Greater, we're all about technology, harnessing the power of technology. In your business, in your coaching, how much of that do you use? Are there any favorites or some technology solutions that are a must for you?
Well, I'm not sure if you throw YouTube under technology or not, but I'm a huge believer in video.
Mhm.
People are going to Google you, right? Um, hey, how you doing on Google, right? They're going to Google you. They're going to check you out. They're going to, yeah, you got it going. They're going to check you out. They're going to look you up. And many times you don't even know if you lost out on opportunity because they haven't reached out yet. And so if they can't find you, if your contact information is not optimized, if you don't look the part, right? I use the glamour shot picture from the 1990s that many women or guys still have, and you meet them at person, and you're looking at their business card picture and them in person, they don't even look like the same person. And realtors are more so than probably any industry are the worst at that. So from a technology standpoint, social media and YouTube are really important. The other aspect, Mario, that we're using a lot with technology is we work with title companies and we do a lot of radius prospecting or circle prospecting. Maybe you've heard it that way, where if you sold a home, whether you represent the buyer or the seller, contacting others around it. We're using uh, trackable QR codes today. I mean, your backgrounds right now, you have QR codes where if somebody scanned the QR code, you can track which mobile number scanned it. Now, again, if you have a unique phone number attached to a QR code and multiple phone numbers attached to unique QR codes, well, then you could track what campaign are they following up on. And so, that's something that's a little bit, different outside the box.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we love those QR codes. So far, they have definitely saved us a lot of time. They have definitely made us look amazing. We call it, for example, with the digital business card, we say we give you the wow factor. If you have somebody that first minute, not a second and a half in their wow, then now we can have a great conversation. You already set something up. That's nice. Let me ask you, when it comes to growing social media, becoming what we call an influencer, what would you say are currently the challenges you're facing or the challenges that you're in the process of overcoming?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself an influencer in the luxury real estate space. On my wall, I have a whiteboard where, you do the dry eraser marker, and so I've laid out, my podcast, which we just released our 220th episode today. I've laid out my educational videos for buyers, for sellers. So myself as a real estate agent, I've laid out my videos and content for realtors, right? So from the consulting side. And honestly, sometimes it's almost overwhelming, like the amount of time and energy from planning to actual shooting the videos. Now, again, I have editors edit the videos. That's not my strength, but I'm a content creator. I'm a
Mm,
full-time content creator to stay top of mind awareness, right? So if somebody's thinking about buying or selling a home in my market, my job is to be top of mind awareness, right? If somebody's thinking about breaking into luxury as a real estate agent, a team leader, a brokerage looking to launch luxury, I want to be in that discussion. So it's up to me to have, a huge digital footprint. And that's where a real grader is making sure it's, optimized.
what do you mean? Can you give us a little tour? What is the life of a full-time content creator?
Creating content, but to create content, subject matters that have a good hook, subject matters that people want to hear about, right? And so my, one of the things that I've been, I think, successful at is creating relatable topics that people want to hear about. And so one of the ways I do that, Mario, is I take real life scenarios, just like I did on here when Alex talked about his friend that got this big check and that guy documented that. I've done a lot of case studies and talked about how I've documented, but sometimes people are sick of hearing from me. And so if I can showcase somebody else that maybe has a different angle or a different approach on how they've documented. So that's a real life scenario that I might get from a content perspective from one of Alex's contacts, right? So I'm always looking for real life scenarios for
Mm,
buyers, for sellers, for time savers, things that can be evergreened. And for those of you that don't know the word evergreen,
yeah.
if you can create a topic on a video once, in other words, my home's under contract now as a seller, now what? And so
Hmm.
if you can document in a video and talk to the audience as if they're a seller, and if I were to quickly just role play, hey,
Yeah.
it's Mike here. Just want to congratulate you on getting your home under contract. Now that it's under contract, there are some series of events that are going to take place. You should start considering who you're going to hire here in Illinois for your real
Hmm.
estate attorney. The buyer has 5 business days now to get a home inspection. And so if I were to put together a 2 to 4 minute video, Alex, on your home's under contract, now what? And save it, and don't say, hey, Mario, your home's under contract now what? I don't have to say your name, but I speak in generalities. Hey, your home is under contract. That's what we call evergreening, right? So I'm speaking in general, but you think, Mario, I'm talking to you, but I'm sending it to Alex because his home's under contract and he thinks I'm talking to him. So content, video that is relatable, that's timely. Sometimes timely videos, I don't have it planned, but the Fed just raised the basis points by 0.5%. So that you could go, bang out a video based on, December, video based on December data or January data. So I hope I answered your question there.
Well, yeah, and I'll add to it is like I'm friends with you on Facebook. So full-time content creator, like I see all the content you put out. You put out a tremendous amount of content from, releases of podcast episodes to quotes from your podcast to who you're interviewing next to, hey, I was just at the Miami Association of Realtors. Here's the class I spoke to here's the people that just got the designation to, even stories, even family stuff, right? So, I mean, so that the people can relate to you. It's like all of that combined puts you in front of people and shows you up as an influencer,
Yeah.
right? I think a lot of the agents that are new to the concept of influencer they're doing all that stuff, like they're out in the world doing stuff, but they're not documenting and they're not sharing about it, right? And what I noticed with you is like you don't go anywhere without documenting and sharing,
Yeah,
right?
you have a purpose. Like if you're going to an event, if you're going to a networking event, even agents that take my class, I'm teaching them during the class, hey, you need to be leveraging that you're here. Again, the consumer, I mean, I have this MVP award behind me. The consumer doesn't care about an MVP award from Who's Who in Luxury Real Estate. They care about how my network and who I'm connected to at Who's Who in Luxury Real Estate can perhaps get their home sold faster. So that's a benefit, not a feature. That's a feature, but benefit. So I'm teaching agents to articulate and do live stream videos telling their database how by them attending this event, it will benefit them, so you have to be strategic, having literally, I have my next 3 calendars that we're laying out, posts, and between myself and my staff, we don't have automatic posting going out consistently. Many times we are manually posting, but we're planning out when to post and that sort of thing, Alex.
It's obvious, it's evident.
That's fun. So let me ask you something. Okay, what about branding when it comes to agents, the agents that you're gonna mentor, the agents you're gonna guide? What about branding?
Less is more. Sometimes there's an agent who just went to my Houston Luxe designation training, Lacey, and Lacey's rebranding her sign and some of her branding. Her previous sign was a decent looking sign. It was, but it was like a NASCAR event. You know what I mean? You go to a NASCAR event and there's signs all over the place. It's like Vegas. It's like the Strip,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so there's not a clear, simple, concise message. So many times, Mario, we're simplifying the brand. We're simplifying the colors. Maybe we're helping them have a distinct brand for luxury. I helped this year 2 real estate brokerages launch a dedicated, separate luxury division from the brand, right? So that sometimes looks different. Unfortunately, many major brokerages, and I'm not going to name any here, their luxury division is a different logo and different colors and maybe a different website, and that's it. There's no additional training and support. There's no designation. There's no inner circle of top producing agents to share best practices. And that's the reality of our industry.
Well, that's brilliant.
It's true.
Brilliant when you said there's no inner circle. Tell us more about that.
Iron sharpens iron, right? I mean, if you're looking for financial advice, would you get financial advice from a financial advisor that's dead broke themselves, right? You want to get advice from people that maybe have hit rock bottom and have reinvented themselves. That's okay. That's even actually sometimes, more impressive, right? Like Undercover Millionaire, Undercover Billionaire. I had Glenn Stearns on my show once. He was on Undercover Billionaire, and literally they gave him $1,000 to his name, and he went to a new city and had to create a business that was valued at $1 million in a month, right? And he had $1,000 to his name. That's impressive because they have the mindset, right? They have the foundation, they have the business blueprint to be successful. So the blueprint, I believe, is iron sharpens iron. Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. Go figure out what someone successful has built, tweak, modify, get a bunch of different opinions and make it your own.
I love it. That's brilliant.
Awesome.
I think now is a good time. You want to tell us about your book?
Sure. Yeah, I have a book out there. It's on Amazon. It's called Luxury Listing Specialist. It's $29 on Amazon. It's a simple read. We use a lot of good visuals to hammer home points. I'm a big believer that you cannot have the same type of presentation for your entire audience. So, for example, Mario, I was a former teacher, so I understand having good visuals, having good stories, good examples. Some people are simple bullet points. Others are left brain analytical, and they're very thorough. So having a mixture within a book or on a listing appointment, I tell agents they got to have 3 types of listing appointments. A bottom line type of listing appointment for that fast paced and the DISC personality, the D and the I. And then you have to have a slower paced presentation for that S and the C. You got to slow things down the way you deliver your message, a little bit softer, more thorough. You can't just say you're number 1 in your market. You got to back it up with market share and visuals and data. And then you got to have a mixed presentation. So our book, Luxury Listing Specialist, it's on Amazon. It's a simple read. If you have read it, great. Leave us a review if you got some value from it.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think definitely that's a useful book I know from the folks that we deal with on a daily basis, all of the agents that come in to our training where we talk about their branding and their online presence, many of them are still in the space of figuring things out. They still haven't learned the principles. So that was my next question to you. What principles do you live by?
That's a great question. The principles at first that I live by is honesty, right? It's not easy to be honest when you're the deliverer of bad news. After this show, I have to be the bearer of bad news. I have a $2.25 million listing, and we got a $1.3 million offer, an offer that's $950,000 below asking price. I'm going to have to be the bearer of bad news, Mario, to that owner. So be honest, be tactful about it in your delivery, but be honest. Don't sugarcoat. You know, there's too many people that sugarcoat or beat around the bush. I'll never forget, I landed on an airplane once, and you're anxious to get off, right? And you know, you just want to get up and move and grab your bag, get your Uber or whatever. And we landed, and then we stopped moving for some time. And right away, the pilot, I say some time, like a minute, and the pilot got on right away and says, "Hey, folks, you know, not going to sugarcoat it. We're waiting on the gate. It could be another half hour, 45 minutes. I'm sure you're frustrated. We're frustrated. Unfortunately, it's something that we can't control." Yes, was it annoying? People sat back down, but I at least appreciated the fact that he didn't sugarcoat and he was honest. So honesty is really the core principle to build your business, build your team, build a relationship with a seller and a buyer. And then another core principle is, for me, is marketing, right? Like I'm a marketer. I tell agents, don't think like a real estate agent, think like a marketer. Think outside the box. Don't do the same things as everybody else does, right? Einstein defines that as insanity. So right now, when the market shifts, unfortunately, what's one of the first things agents do? They stop investing in themselves. They stop marketing, right? They cut back, and now they're the silent agent, and they think to themselves, well, I'm saving money. Well, no, you got to pour back into your business smart, right? You got to get a good ROI. And there's two types of ROI: return on investment and return on impression. And you got to get an ROI on both of those. But that would be the second is marketing. How are you differentiating your business differently? And I think the third is scalability. You know, if you have some financial goals, and by the way, I talk a lot about financial goals, Mario, but I want to make sure that I tell people that money freedom equals time freedom equals relationship freedom equals location freedom. So let me say that again.
Sure.
Money freedom, when I talk about making more money, it's not about greed, but money freedom, if you make more money, you can have time freedom. Time freedom means bringing on an assistant, doing some vacation, you know, being more flexible. So money freedom equals time freedom equals relationship freedom. Again, you can go deeper in your relationships. And over the last 2 to 3 years, people have worked remotely, and that's location freedom, right? I know some people, a guy in the mortgage industry that moved out of state, he hasn't made this big announcement to his database, and he's still doing loans locally, even though he isn't here anymore, right? So by being able to scale up your business, I believe you'll have more money freedom and more time freedom and relationship freedom, and that's how you scale up.
And for those that want to learn more, like take the course, the designation that you have, can you give some information about that? I know that's been spreading the country.
Yeah, so we teach it. Our most popular is our on demand, Alex, where people literally, you know, they plop down a credit card, and it's a $597 investment, and they go through our 16 modules on a self-paced course. It would be on their mobile, on their iPad, on their desktop. It's self-paced. That's our most popular. We do live in-person trainings via Zoom. If we have if we have a host, i.e. a title company, a lender, or an office. And then we also do in-person events. We did 6 in 2022, from the Houston Association of Realtors to the Miami Association of Realtors. We did one in Denver. We did one in Chicago. And so in 2023, we have several that are interested. Our next in-person event is going to be in Cabo, and that website is luxurydesignation.com, luxury designation. But the best place for people to find out more about Luxe, for short, Luxe, or luxury specialist, is go to luxurylistingspecialist.com. There's a lot of drop downs. They can find everything they want to know about me and the course there, Alex.
Awesome. I love it. I think we're going to have you come and do a webinar with our community, talk more about this as well, and give them an opportunity to join in on that.
Yeah, you know, I look at it as the principle of slight edge. So the other day, I had somebody from a major mortgage company at guaranteed rate say, well, who's your audience? You know, and it's a mixture. You have a mixture of newer agents, like Mario said he met at the Miami Association of Realtors that want to, you know, be $1 million agent. They watch Bravo or whatever, and they say, hey, I want to go after luxury. You have a small percent of those. The vast majority, probably 80% of those that are attending our events, are producers. Maybe not top producing agents, but they're producers. They have a good living. They're making six figures or close to it or well above it in some cases. And then you have a very small percent that are established luxury agents, but they're looking for the principle of slight edge. Maybe if I can do something differently, or Michael can teach me something and I can articulate it different or unique or better than the competition, then they'll hire me. And so, you know, I believe, you know, agents on here, whether you're with a small company, you can leverage that. If you're with a large franchise, you can leverage that. If I was up against Mario and I knew Mario was a top rock star agent, had a huge team, I would be leveraging to Alex, the seller that's interviewing me, you know, hey, we're smaller, we're more nimble. Alex, you're going to get me. You're not going to get an assistant to an assistant. And so your property is going to be our focus versus just one of another. Okay. But on the same token, if Mario was a newer agent and I was up against a newer agent and Alex was interviewing me, I would talk about, hey, we have a strong team. We have various resources. Guess what, Alex? We have other properties similar to you. And when an agent comes through those, and if it's not the right fit, I'm going to spin them over to your home where that other agent that doesn't have the portfolio like I do, you know, they don't have that benefit like I do. So where I'm going is everybody watching this, whether you're a newer agent, seasoned veteran, if you're a person of color, if you're gay, straight, doesn't matter. You have your own story. We can help you leverage your story so that you can differentiate yourself.
That's huge.
On the subject of story, I want to talk before we go about 2023 and beyond. Someone like you, I'm sure by now has noticed the trends happening in social media, technology, artificial intelligence, marketing. You even at the very beginning, you said that number may become a little smaller when it comes to all the agents in the nation. So what can you share with us regarding what you see coming in the future? Trends, social media, technology?
Yeah, so, you know, definitely see some turbulence. I was just at an event last night with people from different industries talking about inflation, recession. You know, ultimately, I do believe there's going to be some turbulence in the industry. You know, 90% of NAR put out a study, and 90% of consumers said they would use their same agent again. They had a pleasant enough experience, but yet only 13% did. And why is that? Because their database, agents didn't love on their database. They didn't bring value to their database, their current and past clients. And so, like, we're always, I say we, because sometimes I'm guilty of it too, but human beings are always looking for this easy button, right? And
Yeah.
so, unfortunately, the blocking and the tackling, the fundamentals are going to be key in 2023 and beyond, Mario. So tightening up your database, segmenting your database, you know, your A list, or you communicate more with your A list than your B list. And then there's the everybody list, the C list, everybody else, right? So how the frequency and how you communicate is really important. Being the source of real estate news in your market, right? When there's so much doom and gloom, I say garbage in, garbage
Out.
No, I think it's the opposite. Most people say out. I think garbage in, garbage stays, Mario. So
Oh.
what happens is when CNN and Fox and ABC and they're talking about rates and inflation and recession and negativity, there's analysis by paralysis, and a buyer won't pull the trigger, or a seller says, I'm not going to sell. But they're speaking at a very negativity sells, first off.
Mhm.
So that's why they're always negative, negative. That's what sells.
Mhm.
But you are the bearer of the market in your local market. So you have to tell the story on market updates and why it's a great time to buy, why it's a great time to sell, and highlight some case studies like Alex mentioned earlier. And so some tips that I have for people is turn off the news. They want to divide, they want to label. And again, what you focus on expands.
Yep.
Focus on, healthy, successful relationships, others that are doing a great job and masterminding and picking their brain or listening to podcasts like this. That's going to be key because life is ultimately what drives real estate, Mario. Somebody's getting married. Somebody, unfortunately, is getting divorced. Somebody's downsizing. Somebody's moving up. Somebody's relocating because of job. Somebody inherited a family house because somebody passed away. That is what drives real estate. It's not who the president is. It's not what interest rates are or inflation. Yeah, there, don't get me wrong, interest rates and what's going on in Ukraine or Russia. Those are some things that can create momentum or downward pressure. There's no doubt about it.
Mm.
But ultimately, life is what drives real estate.
There are so many good points that you brought in there. I want to digest a little bit. One of the
Please.
things I heard was, even for us, Alex, going after our A list, because the truth is our business has grown tremendously thanks to those folks who believed in us even before we became who we are now. They just liked us. And I don't think we even have a plan to send them a nice thank you for being with us all this time. Merry Christmas, and just letting them know how much value they bring to us and what we have to offer and what else we have for them coming up next year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I mean, the big takeaway is segmenting, right? I mean, segmenting the list. I mean, as you were speaking, I was like, wow, we need a separate segment just for the luxury agents in our community. Because if I want to invite you, maybe it's not for everybody, maybe it's just for the luxury. But I think in your case, it could be for everybody because I think they could all learn from the mindset and learn, what what the outcome would look like if that's what they want to go for someday, if not today. But this segmentation, I mean, that's why I think your course is so valuable. If they just pick up one nugget that they implement, and I saw you have Gary Ashton on your testimonials, one of our clients as well. He picked up several nuggets attending one of your courses, and he's implementing them over in Nashville. So, just picking up one nugget, I already got that one nugget. I want to go through our list. It's interesting. Yesterday, I was asking our team about a luxury agent at Coldwell Banker, Gary Gold, because he's one of our clients. And I looked at his branding and it was very simple, like you said, very clean, not like a lot of the other branding that we do. And I realized, wow, we did all that work for him and it took us quite a bit of time to get it done because he's luxury. It's got to be done special. And we never reached back out to use him as a case study, but he's like the perfect case study.
Yeah, he's the number one Remax agent in the world. I mean, that would be the ideal.
Well, Gary is, yeah, Gary's number one. We got him as a case study for sure. But Gary Gold and Coldwell Banker.
Gary Gold. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Gary. We got lots of Garys.
Yeah.
But absolutely,
you're
there's a lot.
right.
There's a lot of gold.
He's got a great last name, doesn't he?
Yeah, right. For luxury.
On my podcast that I just released this week, it was a funny story, and you were talking about how do you create content, Mario? You were asking me, and I, you're looking for. I look at it as voids, right? I'm looking to fill different voids with guests and topics, and I don't want redundancy on the same thing all the time, right? And so I was at a conference in Vegas in October. I went to 3 conferences back to back to back, 3 weeks. I wasn't there 3 weeks in a row, but I went to 3 separate conferences back to back to back. And I heard a guy talk on stage talking about basically don't judge a book by its cover. And, he's talking about how we're all guilty. And sometimes coming through an open house, you say, oh, they're not qualified or whatever. He got a phone call, not him. His office got a floor call. That, for those of you that are younger agents, when agents went to the office all the time, they would sign up to take floor calls when people would call off signs and that sort of thing. And nobody wanted this floor call because the wife, her name was Greedy and the last name was Millions, Greedy Millions. And they're like, oh, there's no way that they're real, Greedy Millions. This guy and his name is CQ, the agent. CQ's end up selling them over 6 properties, over $2 million in volume, because he treated them, maybe he was a younger agent and he was more motivated, Mario, but he
Yeah.
treated them as if they were real. So trust, but verify, right? That's something we
Yeah.
talk about in the luxury space all the time. When someone calls, they want to see your multi-million-dollar listing and they don't give you a pre-approval. Trust them at their word, but you need to verify. Trust, but verify.
Brilliant. Well, Michael, thank you so much for bringing in the wisdom and energy to this conversation. We can't wait to see you again in a few months, come 2023, see the new developments, maybe do some collaborate efforts and bring in more agents, educate them and elevate the entire industry.
I'm honored. Love what you guys are doing. You too have a specific niche, and you guys are specialists. You know, generalists get paid, specialists get wealthy, right? So become a specialist, whether it be a neighborhood specialist, whether it be through farming. But you know, generalists get paid, specialists get wealthy. You get hurt, you're a marathon runner. Do you go to the doc in the box, emergency room, or do you go to that orthopedic specialist?
There you go.